Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show, to you, our listeners and viewers, and also to the man to my right who's been on once before, and now he is back to talk about City on a Hill on Showtime. It is a terrific new show, Sundays at 9 Eastern Time. He's been in so many great movies and television shows. He is Kevin Bacon. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
This is not your first Boston rodeo, show, by a long shot.
No, I do a lot of Boston. I'm not really sure why. But
okay, yeah, I mean, I've got just off the top of this card here, Patriots Day, Black Mass, Mystic River.
Yeah.
So you've got the accent down pat?
Well, I don't know about that. Down Pat's.
Down pig, yes.
See what I did there?
I do see what you did there. That's worthy of a nice little golf clap.
Thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
That. No, you know, I like to say that if you're from Boston, you're never going to like somebody doing a Boston accent.
Ever, right?
People from Boston don't even like people from Boston doing Boston accents. He doesn't sound authentic. But I...
By the way, that did sound authentic.
You know, and that's weird because I'm from Philly, and yet it's maybe like the sixth thing I've done there. I met my wife in Boston. We fell in love in Boston, so it has a lot of fond place in my heart. And
right.
I really like working there. You know, and one of the good things about being able to work actually in the city is that if you are trying to do a Boston dialect, which is not the easiest one in the world, you're surrounded by it. Because the guys that are going to pick you up at the hotel and drive you, you know, especially, you know, all the Teamsters, you know, they're going to be the real deal.
So just put your ear to the ground, and
absolutely,
and then you get going.
Yeah,
yeah. So so how often did you shoot in Boston? You shot the whole thing there?
We shot the whole the pilot and the last episode.
Okay.
Some of the. You know, it's 1992, and interestingly enough, there's a lot of parts of Yonkers and of Staten Island look a little bit more like Boston than Boston.
You shot it in Staten Island?
Mm-hmm.
That's my hometown.
Is it
Staten
really?
Island. It is that.
Yeah. We shot quite a bit in Staten Island. We shot in Brooklyn. We shot a lot in Yonkers. So you know, it just ended up making more sense.
So when you were in Boston, was it during any sort of? Well, I mean, you could choose any damn time of the year, and it's championship time lately in Boston sports. Were you there during a World Series run, or
no?
We were
there.
Run at all?
No, we were actually there. What we were there for is like the biggest snowstorm in Boston history, or something like that.
Okay.
It was I guess February of 2018 or 9. I can't even remember. It's about a year ago. We got completely dumped on, and just kept shooting. You know, there's a great scene in the pilot where I'm talking to the DeCourcy Ward character played by Aldous Hodge, and in the background, we're in front of this big, you know, kind of plate glass window. You just see this crazy storm going on. But outside, there was this poor extra that all night had to walk back and forth, like holding this umbrella. And we as we sat there, we literally just saw the snow go like this. But I can tell you that when we were going back for the final episode, there was a real roll of the dice because a lot of the location had all to do with the Stanley Cup playoffs. Because if the Bruins had won, a lot of our locations would be not good because the parade would have been going by or whatever. So everyone was like consistently, you know, the poor production manager, she couldn't care less about hockey, but she's constantly watching because she's trying to figure out where our locations are going to be, and it was interesting. It was amusing. I mean, I think it would have been fun to be there if they had won.
Well, I mean, it is, I guess. You know, and he's from the New England area over there, Kevin, Chris Brockman over there. I give it to you. It's difficult to shoot these days in Boston because you never know if there is a parade that's going to mess with your shooting schedule.
There you go.
So you're from Philly. Did you grow up liking Philly sports at all?
I did not. I grew up, I have kind of a weird relationship to sports where as a kid, I didn't really play any organized sports. I'm really kind of a terrible athlete. We played a lot like right on the street because I grew up on the street.
Sure.
And we would play. We used to play a game called half ball, which a lot of people I say, oh, you never play half ball? What's half ball? Well, the streets are so small in Philadelphia that you take a regular, what we call the pimple ball, and you cut it in half. And then you hit it with a broomstick. So it's like kind of a version of baseball, but you're only using half a ball so that it doesn't go very far because otherwise you lose it on somebody's roof or in the gutters or whatever. And you're actually allowed to get somebody out by throwing the ball and hitting them. and it's the ball, it doesn't bounce. And anyway, that's an aside. But that being said, I was not much of an athlete and I also wasn't a sports fan because I was so deeply into rock and roll and frankly rock and roll and girls, and I just didn't really have the sports bug at all. When I moved to New York in the 80s, I became friendly with Ernie Grunfeld, who was playing for the Knicks at the time.
And then a future general manager of the Knicks.
Right, future GM, and started to go to the Knicks games.
Well, Bernard King and him, there was the Bernie and Ernie show.
Right, exactly.
When Bernard King was lighting it up 50 points a night in the state of Texas.
Right.
One particular January in the middle of the decade.
Right.
I remember these moments, Kevin.
Yes, you do, obviously.
For sure.
Obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, that was my introduction really to even being into sports at all.
Okay.
But what a great time, because going up through that time into the 90s and that team and Starks and Ewing and Oakley and Anthony Mason. And so now I feel a strange, I have a strange loyalty about Philadelphia teams, and a lot of people find this really annoying. But if a New York team is not doing well, I will very easily root for a Philadelphia team. Like I was very excited about the Eagles, and very excited about how far the Sixers got this year, and so I'm kind of like a split personality.
Kevin Bacon here on the Rich Eisen Show. Well, so you can understand how long it was for Philadelphia Eagles fans to wait for that moment 2 years ago to get that world championship. And you also know what it's like to be a Knicks fan to see what the hell's going on with that franchise right now. Isn't it amazing that the Nets are maybe the team in New York right now?
It's
to go see.
When we were talking before, it makes me feel old. I texted a friend of mine. I said, I feel old when I go, I can't believe that two of the hottest teams are the Nets and the Clippers. I'm just like,
yeah.
I don't know why it makes me feel old, but it makes me feel old. But yeah, no, listen, and I think it's great. I think it's exciting. I think actually that there's right now there's a lot of really exciting talent in the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
In like this last playoff series. I was riveted, and obviously not by teams that I cared about,
right,
because they weren't around, but except for Philly. But I think it was it's a cool time to be watching the NBA.
Yeah, I mean Philly's got a great chance with Embiid, and obviously the team that they've put together.
I love Embiid. I
do too.
I think he's awesome. I really like that guy. I love to watch him play.
I know, and I love the fun that he has. I know you're on Twitter at Kevin Bacon. I don't know how active you are, but he's just a dynamite follow on Twitter. Yeah, he's funny. The stuff that he'll just tweet out, and then obviously when he had fun at the Raptors' expense a little bit and celebrating, and then he kind of caught a little bit of grief for that. But
I don't remember that. What happened?
Yeah, well, he did like an airplane sort of maneuver, and then as we all know, they lost that series in Toronto.
Oh, right.
But you're right. I mean, there are so many great talented players all over the lot, and it seems like everything is a little bit more competitive now with the Warriors all banged up and moving on.
Right.
Kevin Bacon here on the Rich Eisen Show. So two of the I'm sure you're asked this all the time. I'll ask it anyway. Affleck and Damon, are they? Do you guys go way back? Do you know these guys?
Not at all. No.
Did they call you for this? I mean, how'd you get involved in City on a Hill?
Ben Affleck had an idea, as far as I know, for this show, and he related to a young writer that he knew and had I guess worked with before. Had been developing something named Chuck McLean, and Chuck is a really kind of brilliant young man with a incredible, for his age, incredible sense of Boston history and of American history and in general, and also films. And he's one of those guys that I just go, man, your hard drive is big, because it's just the amount of information that he can hold there. And he has a great, he writes beautifully, and he took this idea of Ben's and just ran with it. And then Showtime came to me, and I sat down with the director and with Chuck, and when I read it, this project seemed to drop out of the sky a little bit, which makes me always think, who fell out? I always think to myself, who did they have that just, got indicted or whatever? I mean, how did I get this gig? But
after all this time, that goes through your head?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, you listen. I'm always shocked that anybody wants to give me a good gig anymore. I mean, I just felt like the part was so juicy that I sort of thought to myself, wouldn't everybody want to play this guy? But I don't know. Maybe some people are scared of this kind of material. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you're awesome in it. Jackie Rohr, the FBI agent, who I'm hoping has a little bit more good in him than what I've already seen so far in City on a Hill.
I don't know.
Okay. Spoiler alert. There's a few stories that have been written about you, some of your quotes that are in them. I want to make sure that these are true. We always play Celebrity True or False here on The Rich Eisen Show.
Right.
I'd like to do that. You're with Kevin Bacon here on The Rich Eisen Show. Please hit it, Mike Del Tufo.
Celebrity True or False?
You can't handle the truth.
Oh, it's interesting we have you here since that's from a scene that you were in at A Few Good Men
I
right
thought
there.
that was just for my
No.
benefit.
That's always part of our drop, as they say right there,
cool.
Kevin Bacon.
That's great.
All right, first one up here. It's true or false. Is it true that you tip DJs at weddings you attend to not play the song Footloose?
I have done that. Yes. And I'll tell you why. Would you like to hear my reason for that?
Kevin Bacon, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I believe that a wedding is the one day in a non-celebrity's life when they can be the star of the show.
Okay.
The stars of the show are the bride and groom. The supporting cast is the bridesmaids and the parents and, the best man and the maid of honor and all that. I don't want to make a wedding about me. It's like that's the one time when it should not be about the famous person in the room. So when that song comes on, what happens is I could be out on the dance floor enjoying myself. First off, the song doesn't come on, let's face it, until there's been a lot of alcohol served. So people have been super, super cool and kind of like, I'm not going to invade his space. But at the point 10:45, when the disc jockey decides to, everyone is half in the bag, and it comes on, and people will form a circle around me. And
like it's the horror.
Yeah, it's like the horror, yeah. But I'm supposed to perform, like a trained monkey. And I don't like it.
So what's the going rate to grease the DJ?
Well, it's been a few years, but
Okay.
it's probably gone up. I don't think a 20 would cut it anymore.
Oh my gosh. All right, next one on that. Next one, you based your character's hairstyle in Footloose on Sting because you're a big fan of the time of the Police.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Now, that being said, I said that's what I was kind of going for. Well, I mean, if you really look at me through the years, and my hair has always been pretty much related to Sting's. I was such a big fan of the Police, but this haircut,
Yeah.
was given to me by a hairstylist for the screen test for Footloose, and the haircut cost $1,500. They told me this. This is 1982, so that was a lot of money. And the true story is, while I was sitting there going, "Holy, I'm getting sorry,
Okay.
holy crap, I'm getting a $1,500 haircut," I look up, and the guy's got his eyes closed.
Come on.
He was cutting my hair. He was supposed to be he was a genius kind of guy. I think he had one name, and there he was, just like this, and whatever. The rest is,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
If you will, movie history.
movie history.
Next one for you. True or false, Kevin Bacon? You worked for only 4 days on the set of JFK.
Yeah, that was true. Yeah, it was a quick
That's
one.
it?
Yeah, it was a quick one. Yeah,
4 and out.
yeah, 4 and out. But it was a pretty intense. It was an intense 4 days. I mean, I would say that they were spread out over like 3 weeks or something like that. So it wasn't like I just went and shot them all together.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay. And what days what other scenes were being shot when you were there? They were just your scenes?
There were some times when some other stuff was going on. I think one of the things that I was reminded of the other day, just coincidentally, I ran into Kevin Costner, who was in the movie, and he was remembering that we shot a scene at the Louisiana State Penitentiary, which is a out of another era. It's a massive, massive plantation prison. I mean, it's like 10,000 acres or something like that. And bordering it is this giant swamp, and there's no wall because no one has ever made it through this swamp.
Right.
Because it is so rife with alligators and snakes and mosquitoes and everything that it's like, you can't cross it. Mm-hmm. And we were doing a scene, if you could picture, back behind me is the swamp, and I'm sitting on a box or something, and Kevin's sitting over here, and we're doing my coverage, so the cameras are facing this way, and there's some guys in the background who are extras, and I think they were actual prisoners that they were using, and they were supposed to be back working like in the swamp, I don't know, cutting weeds or something like that. And I start doing my scene, and Costner is not. He keeps looking past me, and he's like distracted. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm trying to do my best here, and this guy's not even listening to me. He's not watching me. I was really getting pissed. And they say cut, and turns out a guy was getting attacked by a snake, and he had a machete and was like chopping through the swamp trying to get rid of this snake. And I ran into Costner the other day, and he said, "Listen, dude, I'm so sorry. I hope you know that."
Years later.
That's a lot of years later. He had remembered it, and so had I, frankly.
Did you not know what was going on behind you? Or?
Well, not during the take, I didn't. No, afterwards, I think he had said, "Listen, there was something going on. There was a brouhaha."
It's a turkey shoot with the snake,
if
you will.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, last one for you here. You were cast in Animal House while still in acting school and flew at first class for the first time coming out to L.A.
That's true.
Fact.
Yeah. Well, I was still in acting school. I was probably about 18, and the casting director came to Circle in the Square while I was in an acting school and said, we need this kind of type, and they sent me over there, and I got the part, yeah.
And you got it, and what was Belushi like?
Oh, man. He was funny, generous, and just a dynamic. He was the first star that I had ever met in my life, So he was already a big star on SNL.
Right.
SNL was already such an iconic thing to us in I guess in New York, but also beyond. And I'll never forget he was doing Saturday Night Live at the time that we were shooting Animal House. So he would spend, I guess, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in Oregon where we were shooting, and jump on a plane and get back for Thursday, and then work until Saturday, and Sunday come back. So it was a crazy, crazy schedule. But at one point he found the time, we were all in this crappy hotel on the side of the highway, but he had a house, and he had a party for us. For the cast.
Toga? Was there a toga?
There was no togas involved.
Not that part? Okay.
Yeah, that would have been fun, though.
I was mandated to ask.
Yeah, no, there was no toga. But this blew my mind because there were two things. A few things. One is that I said, wow, this guy can afford to throw a party. That blew my mind. Number two, he had bought smoked salmon, like from Zabar's or from Barney Greengrass or something, all the way out to Oregon from New York City, Nova. And first off, to me, smoked salmon, like Nova, was so expensive that I wouldn't even eat it at that point in my life because I couldn't afford it. And there were just piles of it. I was like, oh my God, I got to put this in my pocket. And the third thing was that it was the first time I'd ever tasted or heard of a mimosa. And the idea that you would take orange juice and mix it with champagne, with like the most expensive thing that you could possibly order, and you're just going to put it in champagne and would put it in orange juice and then just drink it in the morning. I was like, this is so cool. I really want to be a superstar and have mimosas and throw a party and have smoked salmon, as much smoked salmon as anybody could eat.
Lox for everybody. That's right.
mission accomplished.
You know what? I never thought, Kevin Bacon, when I'd ask you that story, I would hear about partying with flounder, having salmon.
There you go.
Hey now, everybody. I'm done. That's like a mic drop. Congrats on City on a Hill. It's awesome.
Thanks, man.
It really is. And everyone should check it out Sundays at 9 Eastern Time. At Kevin Bacon on both Twitter and Instagram. Great to see you, sir.
Thank you.
Come back anytime.
Yeah.
We've just scratched the surface pretty much with Kevin Bacon. Finish up the rest of the show and set up the rest of the week when we come back.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.